Hello and welcome to January 26th, 2023. My name is Kurt and this is my Good Life meditation video. This is something that I do every morning, just a little bit after waking up. It's now 4:37 a.m. Good morning, Parker. I do this in order to reflect on my day yesterday, and namely the challenges and opportunities that I met. I'll then go over the Good Life Creed, which is a, oh goodness, okay over there? It's a philosophy, for a better term, or it's a methodology, a way of living that I've developed over the last 10 odd years in the works, in the last 4 years of deliberate effort. And come here, you buddy. And listed, enumerated, codified, and described in my book Going Alone, which is available on Amazon and bookstores, and or via bookstores, and then from my website sometimes when I have the bandwidth to manage the signing and the shipping. I get a little behind. It takes a while. Anyway, and then the last part that I do is reflect on the coming day, plan for the day, how I'm going to handle, again, the aforementioned challenges and opportunities, that is. Let's begin with last night and yesterday. As for sleep, didn't sleep so good last night. There was one tricky bit for our upcoming trip to Japan, which we go next week, 1 week from today, that I was trying to sort out in my head that I couldn't quite figure out, and I was up thinking about that. So it was kind of like a man in the middle of the night working on a puzzle. But the good news is I think I puzzled it through. I just have to wait to talk to Yumiko about the solution that I came up with, and before executing upon that. Otherwise, it was a good night's sleep, good day yesterday, good solid day of work. Really pleased with how things went yesterday. Challenges and opportunities otherwise, run-of-the-mill stuff. Nothing extraordinary in any way. Pretty routine. Good day. I should talk about what I did that was fun too. That would be a good thing to add, right? After all, that's one of the fruits of all this. I really enjoyed my run on the beach. The tide was low. Got to run out on the sand flats, saw the seabirds. Got to feel the sand in the water splashing. That's delicious. Last night, there's a sea breeze blowing in. That was really nice. I could hear the wind. I could also hear the roar of the sea, which carries pretty clearly every night, a mile and a half from the beach that we are. I love sitting there listening with the open window. I sleep close to the window, hearing the cacophony of the crash of the waves. It's a delight. Otherwise, that's about it. Let's do the good life. My 7 objectives are as follows. Number 1 is to be always ready to die. That means that I have my life affairs and my relationships with others and my life's work in a good, sound, as I like to say, done state, if not finished. And they are. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time so that I'm not wasting my days, letting them just slip on by. I'm making good, effective use of the opportunities that come to me. No time for reruns unless they're really good. Ooh. Wind. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life objectives and principles, which is precisely what I'm doing right now in going over the Good Life Creed in this way. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become someone who reacts well to the challenges that I face. And for the most part, I do. Every now and then I get ambushed, but mostly I react well. Then I'm going to perform good actions, just do good things throughout the day. And then recognize my true limits and my true opportunities so that I'm not attempting things that are beyond my scope of my reach. And capitalizing on the things that are indeed possible. And then finally, the last objective is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. New cup that my daughter got me. The chart of how much I like coffee. Very, and then that much. About right. Now, let's do my 34 principles, which are the instruments and tools that I use along the way to achieve the objectives that I've set out for myself. The principles begin with number 1, the principle of war, which is my reminder to be always fighting against my own beliefs and against any belief that comes my way or potential belief that comes my way. Because I don't want to hold things in belief lightly or for bad reasons. My second principle is reason, which has the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. Reason is the tool that I use in the aforementioned war. And I do reason by way of being honest with myself and others, objective in looking at things clearly, squarely, and from as many angles as possible, being a skeptic at heart, and then also welcoming the chance to discover that I'm wrong, even if it means a slight taste of humiliation. Number 3 is the homunculus. I don't believe I have a soul. I think that's a made-up idea. But I do apparently have a consciousness, and I label it my homunculus. An old-fashioned word. Look it up. It's interesting. After that comes the the anchor hold. The anchor hold is the place where the homunculus lives, like a man on a rock outcropping in the sea where the waves are lapping and threatening to sweep him into the water, in the dark water, deep water. Water means death in this case. Interesting term as well, the anchor hold. I recommend looking that up as well. Can you hear that? Something's being banged around by the wind. Next is the home of good and evil. Right and wrong, good and evil, are ideas that reside in our minds. They don't exist outside of our heads. There is no right or wrong in the wind or between the empty space between the stars. It's something that we have to work on and struggle to reconcile with the differing opinions of right and wrong that others hold. It's an adult challenge. Next comes the principle of purpose. I have 3 purpose in my life. My first purpose is to be a good husband and father so that I can fulfill my seeming biological mandate to reproduce and get my daughter to adulthood, and then I can wither, die, and get the hell out of the way. Make room for others. Literally. My second purpose is to be a virtuous human being, where virtue is not some abstract idea, but is very simply efforts towards the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures. My third purpose is my personal end, which is for me the sharing of the story of going alone and the consequent good life creed. And I do that by doing this every morning and doing a good job at it, or attempting to do a good job. I also do it by my book signings and every chance I have a blog post to make that I can flesh out some hashtags to add that relate to the good life creed. My next principle is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, flowing and changing and forever transforming, including us. Then the principle of nature. Everything and everyone has a particular nature, and it's good to recognize what that is so that we can better accommodate, or abide, or adjust accordingly. Next is the pirate ride, a very simple principle that suggests that free will is an illusion. We're not really free. We are bound to the machinations of the universe all around us, mindless as they seem to be for the greater extent. We are like corks bobbing on the sea, being tossed and pushed hither and thither by the waves and the currents and the wind. chance playing an incredible role in all of that. That's us. The next principle is maturity, which has the sub-principles of wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. Maturity is that aim that we have, and that comes of having experience and the courage to do better and to not make our mistakes again. And then we can enjoy the integrity of a life consequence, result, living that is in alignment with our values. A very worthwhile end, to be sure. Next is the social principle. We humans are social creatures. We need each other, and our best ends are social ends. The sub-principles here are diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. Diplomacy, to work together towards a good definition and agreement about what constitutes justice, and then the linking of arms to conspire to see that end through. Next is the principle of family, a very important unit within the social fabric that we create through the deliberate connections that we form with others. It doesn't have to be the traditional family. It can be any type of family you want, as long as it's an assemblage and a collection of human beings. It's a very good thing to have. Difficult to manage sometimes and to maintain, but quite worthwhile. Essential, in fact, for our well-being. Next comes public speaking. The suggestion to communicate well, to learn and attend to our listening, and to speak in such a way that, and write, that we can be effective using vocabulary from a rich, broad spectrum of understood words and meaning. Use that vocabulary to an effective end without being ostentatious or flowery or too much over the top, but just right. To filter our communications through our values, which is prudence. To filter and to season our communication with our emotions, which is felicity. To strive towards eloquence through the modeling of others in practice, lots of practice. And then finally, to avoid spreading rumors and to never engage in gossip. Next comes temperance, the ability to control our consumption of all things, of time, of food, drink, work, play, everything. How many words we use when we're speaking, etc. Everything in moderation. Just so. Next comes life will not go well, and it won't. Life's going to have lots of difficult moments, and it's good to be forewarned and ready to basically carry on through them to the best of our ability. The next principle is called the horror show. Life not only goes poorly sometimes it's fraught with horror. Horror arrives on every shore to a greater or lesser degree. It's happening all around us, to people we love. And it may be happening to us right now. It may be unfolding at the moment. Be ready for it, to our best of our ability. I've got a little test right now with my tumor, right? That's an unfolding horror. Could be. I think I'm suffering it pretty well so far. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Next comes distraction. We spend our lives distracting ourselves with our work and our hobbies and our family and our TV shows and our music and our sports and our politics and our religion and our God. And these things keep our mind elsewhere other than looking at the dark, steep emptiness of the universe at large. A universe that is seemingly without God, that doesn't care, is indifferent to us. That's the next principle, the great indifference, the thing against which we distract ourselves so we won't see. Next comes the best seat in the house. To strive to be all right with who I am and where I am and what I'm doing here, now, and as I am. All the while striving for improvement. Then comes distraction. Sorry, not distraction. The restless man or woman. It's a feeling that we have beginning in our teens, leading through our 20s and carrying on all of our lives, especially if we don't do something about it. It grows in a way, like a tumor. Until one day you're like, wow, I guess I should have done something. It's exactly the same. This tumor that I've got, that I've had for 20 plus years, that I've ignored all this time. Now I can't ignore it anymore. It's the same way if we have that restlessness, that desire and want for some adventure in life, and we don't do anything about it. You end up my age and you're like, man, maybe I should have done something about that sooner. It becomes a bit of a fright later in life. Namely because it's undoable. Oh, maybe the tumor is doable, but it's undoable in terms of you can't go back, right? And if you try to have the adventure now at this late stage, not so much. Body's flabby, the mind is sharper and weaker and duller in some ways, in all those ways, right? It's not as crisp and nimble and stupid as it was when it was 20, which is the perfect combination for a good adventure and chock full of misadventure. It's hard to do that when we're old and smart and wise and frail. The next principle is the path of wildness, which is the segue journey onto a great life adventure, if we choose to heed that restlessness. After that comes the great adventure itself, the great life adventure, that is, itself, which is the yield of that effort, the thing that becomes our own, our story, our tale, achieved by virtue of our courage in stepping boldly, if not without fear and uncertainty, onto the path of wildness. The younger the better, within, after the teenage years. Or even late teenage years, that's okay. Next is the risk of avoiding risk. This principle suggests that it's possible to over-mitigate in one direction or the other. Too much caution, too much adventure, and we wind up on the extreme side of the pendulum swing, which is unsteady, lonely in a way, a desperate place to be. It's better to find a balance in the middle. My sweet spot recommendation is to take the great life adventure in our late 20s, from after we finish university, from the 23, 24, 25, all the way to 30. Give yourself that time. And then after that, begin to embark on the more settled life of career, family, home, security. And then you'll have a nice balance. And you'll have your story all the way through. And the nagging, restless voice, the restless man, restless woman inside will be quieter to some degree, or at least mollified by the fact of your energetic effort of stepping upon the path of wildness and creating your own great life adventure out of the substance of life. Next comes the principle called sin and damnation. The sins in my worldview are mostly related to honesty and belief. The first one is falsity, being untrue. Next is credulity, believing things too easily. And then faith, belief founded on belief, which is a circular thing, nonsense. Superstition, need I say more? Dogma, belief founded on tradition or a great canonical text. Authority, belief founded upon the charisma or a impression that is laid upon us by another human being. And then spreading rumors and engaging in gossip. Do any of those things, these 8 sins, and we wind up damned in the here and now. The next principle is called complete oblivion. Since I don't believe in a soul, and I don't believe in God, I don't think there's any heaven or hell. I don't think that there's anything about us that will survive our death, which will be absolute in the strictest sense. More absolute than nothing, in a way. Just like the nothing that we weren't before we were born. That's what's waiting for us. As a result, we're not going to see our loved ones again. We'll never see grandma or our parents or our children if they died first. Those opportunities are done. We'll never have a chance to reconcile any differences if we parted on bad terms. And we'll never see any justice after death because there's nothing to apply justice to and no justice giver. So, as maybe sobering as those thoughts might be, I find them stimulating in the direction of doing the best that I can to reconcile now, to get to reconnect, and to contribute to the satisfaction of justice in the time that I have alive. Next comes a principle called script writing, which is a tool I use to forecast the hours, days, and weeks ahead by thinking it through, planning it out in my mind, imagining the circumstances in a positive light, not dwelling on the negative or the scary, but thinking about the positive, the upbeat, and the possible. It's a really fascinating little trick that works wonders. The next principle after that is called the bullseye aim, which is complementary to the principle of script writing. It suggests, bullseye aim suggests that even though we can write the script that says we're going to hit the bullseye every time, that's probably not going to happen. We're probably going to miss it when we're like playing darts. We're probably going to miss it. We should be more satisfied when we hit it than upset when we miss it, because the missing is the greater measure of expectation, of realistic expectation, being reasonable with ourselves and honest. Likewise with life, so I can plan out the day in my mind, but I should expect to not hit the bullseye and just be delighted if I do. Next comes the uphill climb. Life is an upward, for me, where I choose to make it an upward ascent. Ascent towards where? Nowhere in particular. Just up, to yield a broader, more expansive view of the world from new elevations. Next comes arena and utility. Life is an arena for the development of objectives and principles that we can use towards the ends of a more virtuous life and a more productive yield of basic objectives like home and family and children and community and connections and honesty and justice and a good death. Where a good death is a death that leaves a wake of virtue. I like that. A wake of virtue. Okay, bullseye aim, uphill climb, arena utility. Oh, nothing is enough. That's the second to last principle. A mere suggestion towards simplicity. Stark, clear simplicity. And the great yield that comes of that, of nothing. Or of less, the yield of less. And then lastly, the principle of fun, my favorite. The suggestion to have a good time today, to remember the good times of yesterday and to plan for the good times of tomorrow. Make life a fun day. Make today a fun day. Remember the fun of yesterday and then plan for more good times tomorrow. And that's what I'm going to do. So let's pepper the next step of this recitation with lots of anticipation of fun. The third and final part of the Good Life recitation is to think about the coming day, to plan out where I can see the obstacles and where I might see opportunity, and to anticipate and pepper it, hopefully with some fun. So I'm going to finish this. I'll hit the stop button. I'll upload this. I'll type out the little write-up that I usually do. Then I'll feed my dogs and let them outside. I'll pet them because that's fun to do. Pet, 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 pet. A little Ollie right here, a little Rudy down there. Eyeballing me. They can know. They know my creed. They can anticipate when I'm closing in on the end, and they know that I'm almost done. It'll give me a little bit of time to type, but then I have to get back to it. Then after that, I'll start my work day. I'll read my Bible, and then I'll start my work day, and I'm going to lay out my objectives for today, which are basically today's kind of a day of handoff. I'm going to attend my meetings, kind of hand off to the team. I'll be there because they're going to be running things. It's my last day of work for 2 weeks. Though it feels like I'm retiring. It feels like I'm handing off for good. It's good practice, I guess. And then from there, I'm going to move through the day. I need to call my doctor. I forgot. I was supposed to call the surgeon yesterday, and I forgot. I'll do that today. And then I'll schedule an appointment to see them when I get back about the old tumor. And then I'll move through the day. I will listen to some good music as I'm working. Between my meetings, I'll enjoy the interactions with the team. I'll have a fun time talking to the team. I'll be nice and patient. I'll control my cadence of my speech. I'll be deliberate and respectful, and a good team leader in every way that I can possibly be. And then I will take a nice long walk with my wife at lunch with the dogs, long way around the block. Then continue the afternoon, and then in the evening I'll quit working at 4, head to the beach. Oh, maybe tonight we can go pick up my bike. If Yumiko's free, if we can go pick up my bike, then I'll go to the beach and do my run and swim. We'll feed the dogs, and then we'll hop in the car and go get my motorcycle, and have dinner somewhere coming back. We'll meet and have dinner and have a nice evening, and that will be the day. And it's going to be a fun day. I'm going to enjoy watching something with Yumiko later, have a couple of beers, and celebrate that we start a vacation, and off we go. That's it. I hope you have a good day. Be safe, but not too safe. And with that, my life is done, if not finished. Take care.